Gonna look at another one of those little yorx clock radios, the FM stereo one. This is the first one that I fixed a while back. Put a new display in it. I don't think I've shown you guys what it looks like once it was finished, but the display has gone out, so I gotta fix it again. Let's see what happened to it. So this is my second little yorx radio. This is the one I changed the display on, I guess about a year ago. By comparison to the other one that's identical, this is the one I just did. That's got the original display in it. And the display has gone out on this one. Also, when I put lights in this one, I put some lights across the top rather than take the whole unit apart. And I'm thinking maybe this time I'll pull the radio out and we'll put a light in the proper way on this one. But I gotta get this display working again. As I say, it was working, and I just noticed that it went out. So this is the one that, well, you'll see when I get it open, that I had to shoehorn in a display because it's not the right display for this particular clock. It's just one that I had kicking around, that the pinout was totally different, and I had to, well, you'll see. If you don't remember from the original video when I did it, I had to connect it with wires to the board. I had to figure out what the pinout was on the original one and connect this one up with jumper wires. As you'll see. It's quite the mess of wires. You notice that the clock board is just sitting in here now because there was no way to mount the thing with this display. The way that the display is mounted, I actually had to. This one, the display, the evacuation tube is on the back, the fill tube, or the evacuation tube is on the back, whereas the other one, it was on the side, so it was a totally different display. But I'm thinking probably what's happened is we've lost a connection. Maybe the filament wire has come undone or something, and that's why the display went out. And that's exactly what's happened. I believe this is a filament wire and it's come off the display. So I'll warm up my soldering iron. I can see the pin that it was attached to right here. I think it was that pin. I'll try it and see whether that's the one. It's not. It's this one probably in the corner here. I think it's the one right on the very edge of the tube. That's where this filament is. Yes. So it's the one right on the very edge of the tube. I'm going to try and do this without removing this because this is all held in place with double-sided tape. As you can see, I had to cut a hole in the back of the of this bracket in order to mount the tube. I would rather not disturb it if I don't have to. I can get in here and just solder this wire back down. Then that's what I'm going to do. I was going to cut off this part of this tab here just to make it a little easier to get in there, because I don't need that to be smoldering away as I try to get the iron in there and heat this thing up. As you can see, this one here, the brightness doesn't work on this one, but it's a nice bright blue display, and it does not have the AM/PM indicator. So I'm actually using a segment to indicate AM and PM. So if I go to time set, it probably goes out for PM. I don't think I wired both up. Yeah, so just it's on for AM or PM and vice versa. But it still has the seconds display and everything. It's a great display. One thing I'll do on this while I've got it apart, I think I'll change out the lights for the radio and put the proper ones in. What I did on here, as you can see, I put a strip of LEDs up top, which lights the display up quite well. It actually lights it up too much. So I'm going to put just a single LED over where it belongs, where the incandescent bulb used to be, because this is what I used before, which is nice. It's one of these nice waterproof ones that you can use outside, for that matter, because it's all sealed, but it's more than it needs to be in this. And say the proper one's not that difficult to change. The hardest part about this is getting these knobs off, because they are held in place with, they've got glue on them. That one came off okay. So that one. They put glue on them to hold the knobs on. Oh, and incidentally, if you're wondering where the audio output is on this, these are the transistors down here. If you're curious as to where the audio amp is, here are the transistors. Driver and outputs, and the other driver is, it's this one over here, and then the outputs there. It's just discrete transistors. I know that because I blew that transistor on the other radio when I was working on it. Here's something else to make note of. Serial number on the 704362. So 704362. 704402. They're only 40 apart from each other. So not only would these things being made on the same day, these units were probably made within an hour of each other, or within minutes. I don't know what their production would be, but I wouldn't imagine it would take them that long to put together 40 of these radios in a factory in Hong Kong back in the day. So to have two identical units, which the serial number is only different by 40, is that's pretty good. That's pretty cool. But as you can see, the cabinet on my other one is in much better shape. If you look at the brushed aluminum here, this one here is almost mint. This one here has got a lot of scuffs on it. But if you look at this one here, you see how good a shape this one's in with the original display, and it's still got plastic. Still got the protective plastic on it. The other one it doesn't look quite as nice. It's as you can see, it's beat up a bit, but that's okay because it still works. Lift the radio out. I don't want to turn this any more than I have to. I don't want to put any extra stress on the wires that I don't have to. But there's the light. Just got to get the light out of here, and we'll replace this one with an LED like I did with the other one, so that both of them are upgraded. Oh, someone's changed this bulb at one time. Because they just taped the wires together for a new bulb. We're going to do better than that. So here I have an LED. I'll get a resistor. Bring out the scissors that everybody loves to hate. Don't know why. Okay, I've put the resistor on the anode, so that's going to be the positive lead, which will be the red lead here on this radio. So I can trim this back. Don't need much in the way of a lead here to solder onto. Now that another piece of heat shrink tubing to go over the whole thing. And this particular type of heat shrink tubing I'm using actually has a glue in it, so that when you heat it up, and it shrinks, but it also melts the glue that is on the interior circumference of it. So not only does it seal, or not only does it protect, but it also will completely seal your wires from any moisture or anything getting into it. So we'll just confirm that everything works, which it does, and then we'll heat shrink down this tubing. And that sets the hot melt glue, which is on the interior of the heat shrink tubing. So once it cools, you're completely encapsulated. It'll keep any moisture out. There's two types of heat shrink tubing you can get, and this particular type has the glue in it. So now we'll just pull back the wires a bit. Tuck the whole light in place and put the reflector back on, just like before. And there we go. Now it lights up the display nicely. Now I'll put the radio back together and keep my fingers crossed that I don't break anything putting it back together. The controls on this one don't sound to be too bad. We'll just check them out while I've got it apart. Yep, they sound good. This would explain why when I took the screws out, that there was some plastic screws jammed into where there should be metal screws, because the last person that worked on this thing, when they changed the light bulb, didn't put the screws back into the proper places. But as I said, this one here, I got this radio for free. This one was given to me a couple of years ago now. Guy gave me a bunch of crap that he wanted rid of, and actually gave me a TV to fix, and I fixed it, and then his phone was out of service. Couldn't get a hold of him. Turns out he's one of these people that, he has a prepaid phone, but he let his phone expire and didn't renew his account, so they killed his phone number. So when I tried to get a hold of him, I tried for months and months and months to get a hold of this guy. I must have tried for, I don't know, 6 months, and to no avail. Could not get a hold of him. This number is not in service. So I finally got rid of his. I had two old TVs, and they were garbage. They're on my channel. I think one was called a Daytech. But anyway, I finally got rid of the TVs. I got tired of looking at them, so I put them up for sale and sold them. And about 6 months later, I run into the guy in a store, and he goes, "Oh yeah, hey, I've been thinking about you." I said, "Yeah, what's this about?" He goes, "Oh, the TVs. You ever fix those TVs?" "Yeah, but," I said, "you abandoned them, man." "Oh," he's like, "I'm terribly sorry. My phone got shut off, and I couldn't get another phone." And the excuses. I said, "Well, I said I had them sitting in my garage for 6 months, and I said I was cleaning up, and they had to go." I didn't tell them they were fixed. I said I was cleaning up, and they had to go. Because see, what he wanted me to do was he wanted me to fix the TVs, but he didn't want to pay to have them fixed. They were TVs that he had picked up at the side of the road, and he wanted me to fix them for him, and he was going to pay me by giving me other electronic stuff. That was in his mind. That's how he was going to pay me to fix these TVs. Was he gave me this radio, and he gave me a few other things. He gave me a whole trunk full. Like my back of my car was just full of crap, and but stuff that doesn't really have any value, because not too many people are looking for VHS VCRs. But there was 2 TVs. There was this. There was what else was there? Oh, there was a DVD recorder, but no remote control for it. So it's kind of useless without the remote, because you can't really finalize the discs or anything, right? But there's a whole bunch of stuff that he picked up somewhere, and gave it all to me to look at. And of course, the piece that he wanted back was the piece that I sold. Actually, it was 2 TVs, and he wanted one of them fixed, and he said I could have the other one, is what it was. But I sold them, ended up selling them both. In fact, one of the viewers in my channel here will remember it. He's got it. It's a 37-inch sharp. It had a blown Zener diode in it. And the guy that's got it is a buddy of mine. He's one of my viewers. I won't say his name, but he might see this and chime in and say, "Hey, I remember that set." All right, let's just put this thing back together and see whether it still works. What's interesting about these clocks is they go to, look at the time. They always go to like 6:20 or 6:21 when you first power them up. 6:20, 6:21, 6:20, 6:21. You can always tell on this particular chip. When this chip turns on, it's either going to be 6:20 or 6:21. See? I'm just turning the power off and on. You can always figure out what time your power came back on by one of these ones when the power comes on, because it'll start counting forward with the indicator flashing that there's been a power failure. So it either came on at 6:20 or 6:21. You can always figure out with one of these clock chips as to what the time is, because every one of these chips, every one of these clocks that uses this chip that I've got, and I've got 3 of them, they all do the same thing. They all start at either 6:20 or 6:21, depending on when you toggle it on and off. One time it'll say 6:20, one time it'll say 6:21. Who knows why they did that, but that's the way it appears to be on them all. They should have put some meaning into it, like have it start at 4:20. That would have significance for some people. I'm sure there's probably a few people out there scratching their head wondering what that is a reference to as well, right? But anyway, it's funny because the O. Henry candy bar, they came out with an O. Henry 425. I wonder what that was in reference to. Gee, I wonder, right? As I say, this old radio is not in great shape. It's good enough for like a workshop radio. And that's what I should use this for, is just as a workshop radio, because to say it cosmetically, this one is not in very good shape. It works fine, but cosmetically it looks like crap, all beat up and scratched and scuffed and dirty. One of the reasons why this one didn't get the auxiliary and Bluetooth mod put on this one is because cosmetically it's not in great shape, but as I say, this other one here is in really good condition. Like virtually no scratches on this one at all. It's almost mint. I'll put them both on so you can take a look at the 2 different displays that I put on these units, because the replacement one, the display is not as big as the original one, but it still looks good. So I'll plug them both in, and we'll set the time on these things. You can actually see the new display is actually better. Oops. There we go. I've got one sheet of the blue gel on this one, and I've got 2 sheets of the blue gel on this one. That's why it's darker blue. Is that when I put that blue gel in, I only put 1 on this one. But other than that, but you can see the difference in the display. Besides from being more blue, this is a little bit bigger display. I had the brightness turned down on that one. That's why it was dimmer. That looks a little better. Now we're about the same brightness. But there you have it. My 2 classic collector yorx AM, FM stereo, and of course this one here has the aux and Bluetooth. This one's just AM, FM. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon.